The week was long, your feet are tired, could use a vacation. Just gather round and join with Dub, it's Monday Motivation. Monday Motivation.
Hey friends, good Monday morning to you and welcome to another Monday Motivation. Here we are, the final Monday of August, and we continue down our journey of the year-long hashtag BeatUpFit. Don't forget, use the hashtag BeatUpFit in all of your social media posts and in the comments with one positive thing you've done for yourself, enter to win a prize. I'm sitting here in the car in a parking lot, and I was driving, running some errands, and things popped in my head, and I decided to stop and film this Monday Motivation for you. As you're watching this in 4 days, if you're watching it on Monday, the Rings of Power premieres on Amazon Prime, a series that has been in the making for, I think, 4 years. Now, I think 4 years ago, it was announced that Amazon had purchased the television rights to the Tolkien franchises for $1 billion or more than that, which a lot of people kind of met with, oh no. And I think there's a lot of critical, cynical people, because there always are, and everything. But Tolkien being my number one fandom, I am incredibly excited for this. It debuts on Natalie's birthday. We're excited to watch it as a family. It seems like it'll be something we can watch with Kaya versus things like Game of Thrones that we cannot. And the things I've heard from a lot of people that have seen the premiere are that it's excellent. So I'm excited for that. So I thought I would draw from J.R.R. Tolkien, the creator of The Lord of the Rings, The Hobbits, the Middle-earth franchise, for our quote this week for Monday Motivation. And it comes from at the end of the story, at the end of Return of the King. I don't know. If I can spoil Return of the King for you, it's 100 years old as a book, something like that. Those movies came out almost 20 years ago. So I apologize if this spoils it, but it comes from the very end. And the quote is from Gandalf. Gandalf is speaking. And he says something along the lines of, I will not say do not weep, for not all tears are an evil. I will not say do not weep, for not all tears are an evil. And in this quote, he is speaking to the hobbits. They are at the docks for the Grey Havens. It's the end of the story. Sauron has been defeated. The ring has been destroyed. And the elves and Gandalf are going to get on the ships and sail away into their next step, as they are immortal beings. And so they're sailing away. And he's turning and he's speaking, and Bilbo's going with him, but he's speaking to Frodo and Sam. And then you see that Frodo's actually going to go with him, and he's really speaking to Sam. But he's speaking to the hobbits. And he's kind of closing this chapter of their lives. And you see then Frodo turns to Sam, and Frodo says, well, we set out to save the Shire. We did save the Shire, but not for me. The weight that Frodo carried by being the ring bearer and going to destroy it, and all the things he went through, was significant and impacted him in a major way. And he needs to go. Being a ring bearer, he's entitled to go off with the elves, and he chooses to do that he can't live a normal life anymore, that the weight and the power of what he has been through in his life mean he needs to close his chapter and move on, right? So that's just contextual, right? We're not talking about the hobbits necessarily today. It's just the context that the quote, I will not say don't weep, because not all tears are an evil. The end part especially, not all tears are an evil, is what I want to talk about today, as it's Rings of Power week, and I thought that'd be an appropriate thing, right? So that the Rings of Power goes back before the events of Lord of the Rings, kind of a beginning. This is something that happened at the end. And one of the things I talk about here is the closing of chapters, right? So as we are approaching the latter third of hashtag BeatUpFit, and not too long, we'll be closing the chapter of BeatUpFit, and this journey that we've taken together will be the close of that portion of a journey. And all the time in your life, you are closing portions of a journey, right? You're ending something to start a new thing. There cannot be a beginning without an end. You have to stop to start, right? Otherwise, you're always going. You're in a state of perpetual motion. If you want a new start, you have to stop the old. That's a lot of what we've talked about this year with BeatUpFit, that if you want to start something new, you got to stop doing something old. And sometimes, often, that is emotional. When you leave a job and start a new job, even though you may be very, very happy for your new job, and maybe you're making more money, and maybe your old job had some challenging environments, you didn't like your manager, whatever the case may be, you still have some sentimentality around that, and some emotion, and some tears. And those tears aren't born out of evil. They're the emotions that come from ending a thing. Ending a thing. When you take vacation, when you take a trip with somebody, whenever you see all of us that get together and we do these conventions together, and I thought we were going to have an opportunity to do that at Dragon Con upcoming this week, but I don't think most of the folks can come. But at the end, I try to always capture where we're all getting together and saying goodbye to each other. And that's always true sentimentality and emotion, where it's kind of sad because we don't know the next time we're going to see each other. I haven't seen Seth since we were in Nashville, which has now been 5 months. I haven't seen Mike in the several months since we were at Joe Fest. These things are sad because they are the closing of a chapter. In this case, a very small journey where it's just a convention for a few days together, but it's sad. And those tears that are shed for that are not tears that are negative. They're not tears that are evil. They're just emotions, sentimentality of the closing of a thing. And now I'm going to go start my next thing. And I think it's important, especially for men. You know, a lot of men were raised, you don't ever show emotion, you don't cry. That's all hooey-pooey. Emotion is a real part of life. I love the speech from Jimmy Valvano as he was accepting his SB and starting the Jimmy V Foundation right before he died, where he talks about the things that he wants to do every day. One of them is he wants to be moved to tears. He wants something to move him to tears. Had to clear my throat. My apologies. And so he said, I want something that makes me laugh every day. But one of the things is he wants to be moved to tears. Why? He wants something that happens that is so full of emotion that it draws that most raw and intimate emotion out of us. There's nothing wrong with crying. And not all tears are evil. Now, certainly when we get hurt as a little one and we cry, or when something really bad happens to us and we cry and we're upset because we've been hurt by someone, those are tears born from evil. But there are also tears born from love, tears born from joy, tears born just from moving on, right? And those aren't negative things. Not all tears are born from an evil. And just as Gandalf is talking to the hobbits and Sam is sad and he's crying because Frodo's moving on, but Frodo's moving on to something that he needs to move on to. Sam's going to go back. He's going to get married. He's going to have kids. He's got a great life ahead of him. There's nothing sad about that, but it is emotional that it's the end of that chapter of their life. And I think that's important when we live our lives to recognize. My parents were always really good about helping us understand seasons or chapters of our life, that they come and they go, and recognize whatever your belief system is, whether you believe in God, whether you believe in karma or whatever being or nothing, right? But we all have an understanding that something inside of us stirs us and lets us know it's time for a change. Something new is coming. A chapter is closing. A season is changing. We know when those things are coming. I knew when it was coming when I sold off most of my collection a couple years ago. I could tell it was time to do something different. The week we were doing that is when Natalie walked into my life and everything changed, right? So you can tell if you listen, if you're self-aware, if you listen to the things you believe in that tell you that it's time for something to end so something else can begin. And you have to be all right accepting those emotions, and not all tears are an evil. So that was my thought with Lord of the Rings this week. I wanted to kind of take a quote from them, from Tolkien. I'm excited for that. I hope you are too. It is all of our birthdays this weekend. I'm excited to celebrate with the girls, Dragon Con, all the other stuff that's going on. It'll be a fun time, but then we get into September, and fall's not far away. Fall, my favorite season of the year. Football season, good weather, festivals, all that awesome stuff that I really enjoy. And you get to make memories. And it closes a chapter of summer and starts the chapter of fall. And Kaya, we're very proud of Kaya. She made the chorale within her chorus, like a select group. She's trying out for several parts in theater. We'll find out this week if she makes it. So a lot of occasions to celebrate, lots of things to go do with her. And it kind of closes a different chapter. She's had a chapter like in her martial arts career that have closed as she starts to pursue this fine arts. And that's great, right? It's just part of progression of life. So that's my thoughts for this Monday. I hope you enjoyed it. I will talk to you next week.